Grill on.
Grill on. Och jag älskar det.
Just 1 year. It hasn't even been 2 years since we had the most winter. We had 3 months. That was the summer of the summers. Today we're going to talk about snow and why this time it will succeed and the other times it didn't. My journey with my shitty body started when I was 12. I threw my back out when I was 12 years old. I had to crawl to the kitchen because my mother didn't believe me. I couldn't stand. I was in so much pain. I cried all the time. I had to crawl to the kitchen. I had to crawl to the loo. It was terrible. I was 12 years old. And since then, I've had problems with my body. My knees are shitty. I play both football and speed, which are slalom, which are the two worst things you could do for a knee. So both my knees are shitty, and my back is shitty. And when I grew older, I realized that what all the grown-ups used to call growing pains were actually something I never stopped having. It's the same with my son Ludde. He has psoriasis too, and he's probably gonna get this too. So when I was in my 20s, I moved to Stockholm, and that's when I first read about psoriasis or arthritis. I had psoriasis. When I was 12, I went to the 12, 13 or something, I went to the school nurse and asked what the stuff on my elbow was. And she said, well, you have psoriasis, and that was it. It's a really, really common thing and it exists everywhere. It's not contagious, it's an autoimmune disease. It means that it affects the whole body. The thing about having psoriasis, especially the arthritis, is that your body takes a bit of time. It takes a while to get the crisp out of the body in the morning. It takes a while to learn how to run. I used to run when I was 19 or something, but that was in a warm country. I was living in Spain and working as an au pair. I didn't have any problems with my joints there. And that is one of the reasons I want to move to a warmer climate. Because I want to be able to run again. I thought it was fun. I mean, I could run. I could never do that in Sweden. Partly because of the pollen. I have asthma and allergies too, so those made me vomit blood while running. But in Spain there wasn't any pollen. But then I moved home to Sweden again, and well, Sweden is a shitty country to live in if you have a pain in your joints. Shitty. Because it rains a lot. We have a lot of rain, moist. There's ocean everywhere. So there's no desert climate anywhere, nowhere. And the summer season is really short and really cold for being a summer season. Sometimes it's warm and that's wonderful, but most of the time it's not warm. I moved home to Sweden, moved to Stockholm, and read one of my dad's medical journals about psoriasis arthritis. And that's, I felt the light bulb moment all over. I got chills reading it because I knew that's what I have. It exactly that one. It moves around. It's not always on the same spot. It's annoying. Not physically handicapping, but it can be. Some people end up in a wheelchair. But I didn't do anything about it. And shortly thereafter, no, actually before that, my back went to shits. I was just home, bending down to look in the oven, and it sounded in the back. And that's when my pelvis shifted. It moved forward, and I don't know. If you look at those, what do you call it? Ramstead, Dr. Rahim, on, you know, when they do the back, the pelvis shift. That's what you do on me. And it goes, and it moves back. Well, in the beginning it didn't hurt that much. Actually, I went 3 days the first time, and I was walking kind of funny because it makes the spine go like an S. So I was walking funny, but still functioning. Anyway, the first time in Umeå, and I threw him back out, and he popped it back. And then after Umeå, I think I had it one more time in Umeå. But after Umeå, I went to they have a big now. I don't know. And then I moved to Stockholm, and a kid, and normally kids aren't this big, but there was a 3-year-old there weighing 30 kilos. That's 66 pounds. He was fat, and that kid had the worst upbringing, so he was running everywhere. You had to hold him really tight in the hand when out walking, and he just threw a fit, and my back just went the other way, and that was it. And I had to fix it in Stockholm 1 or 2 times more, and then I moved home, and I met the worst naprapat ever. The worst. He actually made my back worse.
Mom.
I couldn't believe it. He made my back cramp like a motherfucker. I couldn't walk properly for days, and when I finally could move, it was because I went by ambulance. Because I had to see another I can't even say it. Naprapat. I had to see another naprapat.
New operation.
The new guy, and he is great. I've been with him since then. The new guy tried to correct my back. It didn't work. I had so much cramp. They had to fill me up with morphine, and I went by ambulance up to the hospital. And then I got bedridden for 3 weeks. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even pee on my own. I was so heavily drugged, I had to be, guided. It was terrible. And since then, I've dreaded these back pains. And it got worse and worse and worse. And in the end, even the slightest of pain would make me go in full panic. The whole thing, like tunnel vision, sticky skin, shallow breathing. It was terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. And I had to do something about that. So what I did, this is back in 2014. I started eating psychopharmaca, which is, something to help with the panic and anxiety. By then I had more than 1 panic attack a day, and I even got it while driving, which is my absolute favorite position ever, because you're in a hot seat adjusted to your body with a hot back and ass. The first month of the insetting, when you take half a pill for a week, and then you take 1 pill for a week, and then a month, 2 weeks after that, you're on your level again. But that first 2 weeks was terrible. I had 4 or 5 panic attacks an hour, and one that even lasted 7 hours because, of course, my back flew out again. So I had to medicate myself with the codeine and take another trip to the naprapat. Make it better, all while in full panic mode. It was the worst I ever been, and I have had 2 children. And after that, when the medication was on full swing, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel happy. I couldn't cry. I couldn't do anything. It was great. And because I had no feelings, the back didn't hurt me as much at all. I think my panic made it worse. Actually, I know it did. The panic, the tickling along the spine made me, well, either that triggered the panic or the panic triggered the tickling. So when I got rid of the panic, the back just didn't happen anymore. I think I've been there once since 2014, and that was 2 years ago. What's that? 18, yeah. It just didn't happen anymore. We're gonna finish the packet.
Jajamän, här var det jättebra.
Ja, perfekt.
Ja.
Tackar, tackar. Den ska vi ta. Oj, nu kommer du att putta ner. Den blir lyfta upp det. Så, stopp.
Så, nu är vi klara.
Tack så mycket. Hej då. Här har vi bilen igen.
Vänta, jag tar där. Nej, jag där. Någon fotade.
This is where I lived when Patrick and I met. We actually more or less lived together up here in these houses. This is back in 99 and 2000. Right here, these houses. Student houses. Lots of students here. This is where Patrick used to live, the red house here. This is his childhood home. That's one.
Så han är.
Inga ställen på golvet där bara. Yeah, the pills. I ate them for, I don't know, 3 years. And I finally got tired of eating pills every day. So I checked because by then I was feeling fine and didn't have any panic, didn't have any back pain, didn't have anything. So I read the label, read the description of it, and it said to eat them for a year after the symptoms had disappeared. And by now it had been more than 2 years of symptom free. The symptoms actually were gone after 2 or 3 months. In total, there were no symptoms at all. So I should have eaten them a year and a few months. So I stopped eating them. And I haven't had a problem since then. It was the right decision. The reason now I've gained a lot of weight, because I was normal when up to 27 or so. I was normal. And started gaining weight when my back turned really bad. I couldn't do exercise, I couldn't ride my bike, I couldn't do anything because the back was a motherfucker. But after a few years, I didn't have any symptoms left. And by then I had dealt with the other problem with why I gained weight, why I was overweight, why I am overweight. And that is my shitty childhood. I just decided that I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm not gonna make excuses for others when they behave bad. I'm not gonna stand being the doormat. So I basically told them to fuck off. I haven't had any contact with toxic people in general. I just don't contact them. I don't talk to them. I don't want to ever see them, actually, because toxic people makes me feel shitty, and when you feel shitty, you want to eat. And when I said you are not welcome here anymore, and just stop calling the other people that wasn't good for me, I just lost my will to eat. Not entirely, but basically overnight because of something that happened. I forgot to tell you how all this started. It's kind of a big deal, and I'm never gonna recommend it to anyone, but it happened to me, and it was a good thing. No, it wasn't a good thing. I almost died. So, first, in May or April of 18, I got sick. I got really sick. Actually, I almost died, so there's that. I got rosfeber. No, not sepsis, because sepsis is what happens when you get rosfeber. It's a fever. You get it from streptococcus. This is what I got, and I almost died. I didn't know what it was. I got sick and then sicker and almost sickest. And Patrick just, you have to go to the hospital, you know. And I was like, well, I'm kind of sick, so I'm gonna go. I was really sick. I had a high fever. I was barely conscious, and my leg was really swollen and red, and everywhere I looked on the internet it just said you have rose fever. And I called the hospital on 1177. That's our emergency line when you're not dying. That's 112. And they all said you have to go to the emergency. So I went there, and oh my god, they gave me such a hard time. They yelled at me, for real. They were like, why didn't you come up earlier? And my dad was like, you could have died. And I was like, what? So yeah, that happened. I almost died. Actually, they said if I had waited, half a day more, that was it. So I survived. Thanks to Swedish system. Yeah. Yeah. And my neighbor Siv, the wonderful Siv, married to Eric, she gave me a ride up because I was too gone to drive. I just said, I can't drive, can you please drive me? And she was like, yeah. And she helped me get situated and, waited with me in the hospital and got me some basics. And then she had to leave, so I asked Katta och Emil, and they brought me some real food, proper food that I almost ate, because what happened was I was too sick to eat. I lost but this time I really lost my appetite, and the hospital food is awful, simply awful. Patrick and the kids were in Stockholm, so when they came home I was still in the hospital, so I think I was there 3 days. So yeah, I nearly died and I lost my appetite, and it took me, I guess, about 2 weeks, 3 weeks or something to get back to normal. And 3 weeks without any desire to eat is quite a lot. And then, just, I don't know, not even a month after that, I got a cough from hell. I coughed and coughed and coughed. I mean, beware. What I'm gonna show you is not for the faint of heart. So if you are a bit squeamish, please scroll down a bit. This is what I look like. I coughed until I threw up a lot of times. I mean, I threw up, I think, 4 times in a couple of hours just through coughing. And when I came up to the emergency room, still coughing like a maniac, they all asked me, everyone, if I had been strangled. They all lifted my cheek and looked at my neck to see if I had marks of strangulation. Just checking. And I was like, no, I'm just coughing. So yeah, that was fun too. And that too made my appetite go away. And the reason I got that cough was this one. Yeah, outside, wind blowing, me kind of sick, but not really. But outside, no help, no nothing for 3 hours or 2 hours, I don't remember. Too much for me. Anyhow, that made me sick for more than 6 weeks. I reckon it was close to 2 months. That made my stomach, my internal stomach, shrink to a child size, so I couldn't eat. I lost my appetite. I lost a lot of weight that time. I ate children's portion for at least half a year. I reckon almost a year, because I just couldn't. It was impossible. And since I didn't have the urge to eat, because I have lost that one. I knew why I've been eaten, so I lost that one, and now I was in another place. Yeah, so don't do that. Don't ever get that sick. But that's how this started, for real. I never got back to adult size portions, and well, now I can eat adult size portion and get really, really full, but not with, the pizza or the hamburger or the really big fatty foods. I still eat like a child, but the contents, it's so much better. Sorry, I forgot to tell you. So back to the driving. But I never got it back. I haven't gotten the urge to splurge once in all this time. I sometimes gets hungry, you know, but that's normal. I want to choose things. We all do. It's normal. Well, yeah, there's another one, a small one. Well, have you ever heard of, I've talked about this before, the power of self-suggestion, which is basically placebo. My God, it is bumpy. The power of self-suggestion, which means I tell myself what's good and what's bad, and I know it. I mean, like every other overweight person, we know exactly what works and what doesn't. All these crazy diets like Weight Watchers and tallriksmodellen and I don't know, the air hostess diet and the I don't know what. They don't work at all. They don't, because you still haven't addressed what made you fat in the first place. Without that, du måste hålla koll på vad du gör.
Men det är svårt att kontrollera igen när det är svårt att hålla handen i luften.
Ja. Without that, without the reason why, you will never ever succeed. Never. If it's just the basic, oh, I'm so lazy. Well, that you can control. You don't have to be lazy. That's the thing. You don't have to do all that laziness. You can choose to not be lazy, but you cannot choose to be a victim of other people's inhibition to control themselves. If you've been abused, if you've been raped, if you've been, you know, anything of those, any one of those, that's the reason why people get fat. I didn't have any, you know, one big thing. It's just a lot of things.
Vad var det som var fel? Tekniken. The technique of holding the camera.
Yes, it's too hard to arm.
Hard for the arm. We are going now to Systembolaget, which is
The
Swedish,
alcohol.
yeah, the Swedish monopoly.
I'm all for the monopoly because the selection of wine in this store is the best in the world. I'm not cheating you. The monopoly makes for good selection and to prevent teenage drunkenness. This is just white wine, and then there's red wine, and more red wine, and then there's pink, and over there is beer and cider. Yeah, big selection. Yeah, there it is.
Two or
Two.
one?
Two.
De här? Alltså de här?
De här. Sen, du bara visa det här. This is the stout. Oh no, ale. And that's the stout. And this is just beer. And this is the cider. It's going pink. Lägg den där i baksätet, eller? Ska du lägga den i baksätet? Nej, men vänta nu. Ludvig filmar. Ni byter plats här. There is one reason more why this is gonna work. I don't feel the same at all any longer. I'm not sad. I'm not depressed. I still get angry, don't I?
Yes.
But anger is a so much healthier feeling than depression and anxiety. Oh, bus.
The dark side is a pathway many consider to be unnatural.
Som Palpatine.
Yes.
And another reason why this is gonna work is I love my job. I have the world's bestest job. I work with floorball, and the people in that community are most of the time really kind and generous, and you know, they genuinely like me for me instead of hating me for what I'm not. That's quite a big one, because rumors is the worst. You can't get rid of them how much you try. Once a rumor starts, that's the perception people have of you. So, chips and candy for the boys!
Here is our car.
When all of that had been figured out, and the last piece of the puzzle was the exercise. I mean, I really like to move. I love to dance, and I could do it while the back and the knees are bad, but it takes quite a lot of medicine, and I can't walk for 2 days afterwards. But I love it. I love to move until I'm so sweaty I can't breathe. I love it. Dancing and, you know, just moving around. So I started water training, and the fact that I can move without the joints and the back hurting like a, you know, like a female dog, that was the final piece of the puzzle that is going to enable me to lose this weight. The food is easy. We know what works. We've tried it before but had to stop because, well, we weren't ready. But the food is easy. It's just skip the carbs. That's it. I have another motivation too, and that's the goal. You know the goal? It's to sell everything and sail around the world. I reckon it'll take about 8 to 10 years. I've said 5 at least, because I will probably want to spend at least 2 years in the Mediterranean and at least 2 years in the Caribbean. But you never know. Delos has been going on for 10 years, well 7 from just Australia, and they're just halfway from Australia. But then they did 1 more year in Madagascar. So in order to sail you have to be thin. Well, not thin, you have to be narrower, because you can't be big and fumbling and stumbling on a boat. I love to sail. I always wanted to sail. And yesterday, just yesterday, I figured out what the common denominator is for what I like to read. It's the adventure. I like books with adventure, and not just, you know, the classic like Indiana Jones or V5, it's called in Swedish, with, Enid Blyton's children. And now we're doing 1570. But adventure in general. I love to play adventure, I love to read about it, and adventure can be even, the Cold War novels. That's quite an adventure, like Cod Rebecca and, adventure. I want to see things and do things, and I want my kids to have the same wanderlust as I do. It was quite an adventure to learn how floorball works. But it's all, known. It's not new anymore. Yeah, the pain thing. I'm gonna talk about pain next week. And that's gonna be a real sad one. So prepare, but pain is a really, really big part of my body. I have pain all the time. For example, I made that fun video that we put out last. I made that on Monday, and I was counting on being ready to air it on Tuesday. The big thing is, it's been snowing for 4 days. 4! It's been terrible. I've been sitting in the sofa doing nothing but play PS4 with my boy. So not until the snow stopped did my body go back to functioning again. And the second the sun came out, no more pain. But on the other hand, the pain now is much less than what it used to be. So I guess the water training is helping a lot more than just temporary release. It's helping on the long run too. It's home sweet home. Svettiga hem. So yeah, that's it. That's why I think it's gonna be better this time. A lot of good things. I'm in a good place. Be happy for me. You're not gonna be happy for me next week when I tell you about the pain. I watched the film, the thing I filmed. I cried. That was terrible. And now it's dripping on me. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.